Welcome to another episode of Stand Up Without Borders. It's my pleasure to welcome DJ Fan, or Donnie Fan, to this episode. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Okay, thanks
Great
so much.
to be here.
Yeah, sounds like we just met.
Possibly.
Yeah, possibly. So the reason I have Donnie on the show is for many reasons. I did stand-up comedy in China for many years, and Donnie, to me, was a relatively newer comedian, but he develops really fast. And not only that, he actually runs his own club in order to get more stage time and form a community here in Beijing to further promote stand-up comedy. And he's done a lot of impressive work. And how do you feel about the English stand-up comedy scene in Beijing right now, or in China? Because I believe that most English audience doesn't even know there's an English stand-up scene in China, right?
For sure. And it's been so different since I started. I think Beijing, I really believe this, people think I'm crazy. I think Beijing has the best audience for English stand-up comedy in all of China. And I'm sure every comedy scene feels that way about their scene. But I've been very lucky to be able to perform in like all of the major cities basically in China.
So what is your best, what is your toughest gig?
When I performed with you the first time, that was the hardest.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, yeah. So I mean, you get to tour a lot in China.
Yeah, it's been great having the opportunities to whenever there's time. Pretty much most cities are so happy to have entertainment, and you can just show up in a city, put your face on a poster, and have 50 or 60 people come out to watch the show, and they're always excited to have English comedy. The foreigners or the Chinese people who just came back or are trying to practice their English, learn and get a different kind of view of our culture.
I see. I remember we kind of started to talk about food right before this podcast.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you have some type of food that you prefer eating during a tour or something, right?
Yeah, when I tour, I have this thing where when I first started touring, I always wanted to try like the local Chinese food. But now when I tour, I only eat Western food and primarily pizza. I have this.
Oh.
I have this thing where I feel like the best pizza in China can be found in the smaller cities. The best pizza I've ever had in China has been in two places, Shenyang and Changsha.
Really?
Yes.
And why is that?
There's these two places. The place in Shenyang actually moved to Zhuhai, and it's just really authentic New York City pizza.
You're going to do a show in Zhuhai, right? Just for the pizza.
For an audience of 4 and a team of pepperoni. Yeah. It's really good, and I just feel like it's really interesting because you find foreigners who have been in China for like 20 or 30 years in some of these smaller cities, and they take whatever culture they had with them from the 80s or 90s, back in America or wherever they're from, and you just find these really local mom and pop shops from 70-year-old retired people who are with their wives, and they just have the best pizza in China. So it's kind of my mission to find the best pizza in all these smaller cities.
So where is the best pizza in China now, do you think?
I think Changsha.
Changsha?
I think Changsha.
I would not have guessed. Everybody says like Shanghai has the best Italian food restaurants or something, but then I didn't know like Changsha has.
It's just this really small place in Changsha.
Do they actually put like sticky tofu on pizza or something?
No, thank God. No.
It's their food, right? Sticky tofu.
If somebody offers stinky tofu or durian on pizza, then it's just automatically out. I have to go someplace. That's why I don't go to Pizza Hut anymore.
Oh, because they have stinky tofu pizza?
Durian pizza.
Durian pizza. Oh, okay.
I once went on a date with a girl, and we had, she ordered durian pizza, and I actually sat through the entire date at a different table from her. And I shouldn't say that about myself.
Well, so finally you two got married or something?
No. Just divorced.
Just over the pizza.
Yes.
Wow. But why pizza though, not burger or?
I feel like I can make a pretty good burger myself. And
Oh.
I'll try burgers and stuff, but it's just a goal of being from New York, and New York City is like
Oh,
to me
yeah.
my favorite place in the world. So having the chance to go find other places that if somebody says it's Italian pizza, fine, sure, it might be good, but I look for that true, authentic New York by the slice dollar pizza,
Oh,
on a
okay.
corner somewhere, and that's Changsha is so good.
So the thin crust New York pizza.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Thin crust, a lot of sauce, a lot of cheese. That's where people miss. People will make the pizza look like New York pizza, but they always skimp you on the sauce here.
Oh.
The pizza sauce is pretty hard to make, so that's what I go for.
So what about Chicago pizza? You tried those before?
There's a place called Yummy Box in Beijing that has Chicago pizza. I've never had Chicago pizza in America, but Yummy Box has it, and it's I guess there's a free advertisement for Yummy Box. At least you give me money.
Yeah.
But it's
But
okay. It's okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had pizza in Chicago. That was like a pizza. It's a cheese pie, basically.
Yeah.
Such a thick layer pizza, But it's good. It's just that it's a little bit too overwhelming the first time eating it.
But not better than New York pizza, right?
I honestly like both.
Okay, I'm gonna leave.
New York pizza is pretty popular in Boston. I lived in Boston for 11 years. That's the type of pizza I always eat.
Boston has a really good clam pizza. That's what I like to get in Boston. They have like white clam pizza.
Oh my God, I wasted 11 years there. I never had clam pizza.
Oh, it's the best. They put clam and garlic and a little lemon sauce. It's a delicious pizza.
Oh, wow. Garlic pizza.
Yes.
I got to try
I love
it.
garlic.
Yeah. I mean, but traveling, the reason I mention food is, I do a lot of tour too. And even though I'm not a foodie, I can eat any type of food as long as it's not too spicy. But still, sometimes it's just like, I remember I did some shows in the Midwest in America. I stayed there for 5 days, no Asian restaurants at all. There's like one restaurant close to where I live, it's Arby's. So I just go there for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And
How do you look like this?
yeah, but after a while,
Amazing.
I got sick of it. But then I still tried to, eat my meal. But one day, one waitress, she was so happy, big smile on her face. She was like, "Honey, I got food for you." I was like, okay, and then she brought out a bowl of rice.
Like 老鼠爱打蜜.
Yeah, but then I'm sort of okay. I really appreciate this, but then you can't just eat rice.
So in America we do though.
Oh, you do?
We do, yeah. It's so weird. When I first came to China, I came here in 2015,
Yeah.
and I remember the first time I just ordered like a bowl of rice, and I was just eating the rice, and people looked at me like I was crazy. And
That's how America really do this?
some people, yeah. I mean, we usually have flavored rice though, so that's the difference. Like,
Oh, yeah, but then when we're little, if we describe someone's family as poor, we just say, "Oh, his family eats rice with soy sauce."
I'm poor.
Okay.
That was my lunch today. Actually.
Oh, wow. Man. Yeah, and then right now when I'm on tour, I tend to eat fast food. Not only because of the speed, but also I kind of know what's in it,
Yeah.
I just know, oh, they're like 2 beef patties or 3 beef patties.
And a lot of steroids.
Yeah, it's very quantitative, the quantity is right there. But then sometimes if you go to some fancy restaurant, you don't know how much food you're getting, so yeah. It's just easier to have, burgers and stuff. So
Yeah. So not a lot of Panda Express though.
oh, I love Panda Express too, but
Yeah,
it
it's
wasn't.
the best.
Yeah, but
I used to work for Panda Express.
oh, really?
Yes.
Because a lot of my Asian friends, they hate Panda Express. They were like, that's not real authentic Chinese food. I'm like, yes, I know that.
Yeah, but it's delicious.
Yeah,
What's
still,
wrong?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know exactly what I'm getting. It's consistent. It's great.
Yeah.
So let's. The reason did you do any stand-up comedy when you were in America?
No.
No?
I was. It was a dream that I thought I knew I would never be able to do.
Oh.
I'm what you would call an emo kid. Like when I grew up, all the music I listened to was just
Oh.
sad, depressing, like music, and I would wear dark clothes.
Oh,
not
really?
dissimilar from now, yeah. I still look pretty similar to how I did then, and I always loved stand-up comedy, but my heroes as a kid were like Emo Phillips and Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, wow. Hey,
Yeah,
those
yeah.
are my heroes too.
Really?
My very
Yeah.
first stand-up comedy was Emo Phillips.
No
in Houston.
way!
Yeah.
He's the best.
I know, but at the time, I had no idea who he is.
Yeah.
And that was my first time, and I can, by that time, I lived in America for about 7 years. So I understand all the words coming out of his mouth.
It's very simple.
Yeah, but then I just don't understand the punchline. Because I have to take that back. I understand maybe half the punchlines.
You understand
But he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
But because in that one show, he didn't do that voice or whatever.
Oh,
he
there was a
just,
time where he stopped.
yeah. He just sits in the chair and he just tells jokes.
Oh, so I missed that.
Yeah.
Because I think.
Because later on, when people say, "Hey, did he do that voice?" I was like, "What voice? That's just natural voice." But
He
then-
went back to it.
Oh, he went. Oh, yeah, I know.
He went
Later
back
on,
to
yeah,
it.
he actually went on a tour with Weird Al Yankovic.
Yes.
Yeah.
They used to do his TV show together, the Weird Al show.
Oh,
Emo was
really?
always on it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was in college. I went to go see. I saw Emo 3 times in New York, and he went back to it. And I did read that there was like maybe 5 or 6 years where he just went to like kind of traditional stand-up comedy. But I was really
That's
happy
in
to
the
get to see
90s,
him
right?
doing
Late 90s, I believe.
Yeah.
That's when I saw him. I still remember one joke, he did on stage. It was like, "Oh, the Midwest was so cold. Sometimes I deliberately contracted gonorrhea just to get a burning sensation." That's the joke I remembered.
He's great.
But yeah, I
great,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, he's super funny. But
So when I was in America, and like those were the comedians I loved, and him and Mitch Hedberg.
Mitch Hedberg, yeah. Oh God.
I tried writing stuff, and I just couldn't figure it out. And so
I mean, because when Mitch Hedberg passed away back in 2006.
Yeah.
I said this to some of my coworkers in Boston. Of course, not everybody knows him.
Yeah.
Like I remember this one girl said, "Oh, who's Mitch Hedberg?" I was like, "You don't even know him?" And then she got really offended. She was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not that Hedberg." I was like, "Okay, well,
She was like, "Oh yeah, I know him. You're next."
next to become big.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So from that point, but I didn't know Mitch started out in New York. I thought he was.
Oh
from
no.
Midwest.
It's just those were, as a teenager, those were who I listened to. Those were who I
not
watched.
Okay, not in person. You
Right,
just
not in
listened.
person.
Oh, okay.
I got to see. I never got to see Mitch. Emo, I saw. I think I was in my early 20s, and I think it was my 21st birthday. Actually, I went to see Emo. But like as a kid, like my first experience in stand-up comedy, which a lot of people resent, was really like Dane Cook and Dimitri Martin, and the people who would be on Comedy Central, because I would just be watching from TV, because I was 12, 13 years old. I couldn't go, to the comedy clubs back then. So everybody I liked was mostly from discovering on YouTube, stuff like that. I like some weird people, like I don't know if you know Eugene Merman.
Yeah, of course I know him.
I liked that kind of weird comedy. So I never thought this would be something I'd be able to do. And my comedy style is not like any of them. So.
Yeah, I still remember when I first got on TV, Eugene Merman just basically put his arm over my shoulder and said, "Joe,
Really?
Yeah, you have to move to New York or LA.
Yeah.
You move to New York, you're known across the country. You move to LA, you're known across the world." I was like, "Okay."
Where were you when this happened?
I was in Boston. He just told me to move out of Boston, which is, I was very reluctant to move, but then looking back, I think I should have moved earlier. Even my wife's like, "If you're doing stand-up comedy, you have to move to LA or New York. That's where the actions are."
Yeah.
But at the moment, I was like, oh no, I got a mortgage, I got,
Yeah.
kids and stuff. I just didn't want to disrupt my life.
She just wanted you out of the house.
Yeah, sometimes, she has more guts than me, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's a big decision, though.
This was actually your advice to me. After an open mic before an open mic one day, you told me, you wished you started earlier, and I'm, not young per se, so it did have me thinking, like the wheels kind of turning in my head, like maybe, I'm doing pretty well at this. I know that I'm building kind of this following over here. Maybe if I'm going to do this, I should do it. And so I actually, credit and thank you for that, for kind of accelerating my process a little bit.
Life.
Yeah, ruining my life. Basically setting me up for empty shows and booing for the rest of my life.
But you're doing fine. You're touring and stuff.
So far.
So far. Okay, so this is a little bit personal question.
Yeah.
You told me once that you have never met your father, right?
Right. I've never met my father.
And does that affect your comedy or not?
For sure. So I would say like the one comedy influence that I have that I think like really shines is probably the wrong word, that I really probably offend him for having a similar style is Mike Birbiglia.
Oh, okay.
Who does a lot of like storytelling. People call him like a one-man show rather than a traditional stand-up comedian. And in China, I found that where I'm able to connect with audience, and on just a cultural level, just trying to make friends in China is very different than in America, because in China, people don't talk a lot about their personal stuff, right?
Yeah.
And if I go on a date, or if I'm just talking to a friend, or I just meet somebody, the first thing I ask them is like, oh, tell me about like your life, your stuff, and they just go, oh, I'm just normal Chinese. I'm like, what does normal Chinese mean? And they'll say something like, oh, my parents sent me to boarding school when I was 3 years old. I didn't see them till I was about 13. Then I lived with my grandparents.
That's not normal Chinese.
No, it's not normal anything, but nobody is quote unquote normal.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So what I found when I started doing comedy, and it's a little bit different now than when I first started, but I would tell jokes about growing up with a single mother, or not knowing my father, and the audience would come up to me after shows and go, are you okay? Do you need somebody to talk to? And I'm like, oh, was it not funny? They're like, no, it was really funny, but I'm really concerned. Are you going to make it home tonight? How many drinks is that?
Oh, God.
I had
That's what every comedian's dream. Are you okay? My worst was, don't quit your day job, Joe.
That's what my mom tells me all the time. I'm like, this is my day job.
But the thing is, some audience member came up to me and she was so genuinely concerned. She was, don't quit your day job. So, okay.
But I found that over time, as I was able to kind of refine the way I told these jokes about my personal life, a lot of the audience connects with it in a way that's really meaningful to me, where they come up after shows now, and some people say, I think it's really brave that you talk about your childhood or some of your trauma. And what I really like about being able to do that in China is I think maybe I'm able to give people this kind of release that's very therapeutic, that's both for myself and for them, I suppose, and where we can find humor in these things that are really kind of hush-hush conversation topics here. And so that's what I, it wasn't what I initially intended to do or set out to do, but that's kind of this path that I found, and I think that it's been a really wonderful trip for like me and the audience.
So, have you ever tried to find your father?
Yeah, multiple times. And as a kid growing up, I didn't know much information about him. I just kind of knew his name, and I knew where he worked before I was born. And as the internet age kind of expanded, and I was able to try to find stuff, I found him on Facebook once.
Oh, he's on Facebook?
He was. I found him on Facebook, and oh God, I don't know how much I should. Yeah, I think it's fine. I found him on Facebook, and I told my mom, and I was really scared to send him a message. And my mom, for her, it's a really sensitive topic. And so she apparently called her lawyer and was like, your son's trying to find you. So you should like look out for him. His Facebook was gone within 24 hours, and I never got
Whoa.
to like send him a message.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was when I was 14, and then I think when I was like,
What did you do? No, just kidding.
you know,
It must be you. Sorry.
Well, I just always hoped I would find an adoptive Chinese father named Joe Wong who would take me, you know, into his family, help me immigrate to. Can I say this? Help me immigrate to America.
Oh my God. Oh man. Now I remember. No, just kidding. Yeah. So.
How old are you? See if the dates match up.
Yeah. Let's do a DNA test
Okay.
right now. It's my major. And, so. But then you kind of know this person, right? Your father.
Yeah, I was
You
able
know who
to.
he is. He was on Facebook, but you must know where he lives right now.
Where he lives right now, I could find out if I wanted to. But I'm 33 years old, and as far as I'm concerned, like, I don't know what I would benefit or gain from it. So
Yeah, it is
you know,
weird though, because
if I met him, what kind of jokes am I going to tell? It's going to be like, well, I'm happy now.
well, you know what did your mom say to you about him? You know, like,
For my mom, it is really like a very sensitive thing. So as a kid, she would. I remember this was one of my first jokes I told. When I was a little kid, my mom would tell me, I would say, "Where's my father?" And my mom would say, "I'm your mother and your father."
oh,
It was a very sweet thing. And I remember when I was in kindergarten and I went to school, and one of the students, like after school and at recess, was like, they were all talking about their dads. And one kid was like, "Oh, Donnie doesn't have a dad." And I'm like, "Yes, I do. My mom's my dad." And some like second or third grader heard that and said, "Your mom's a hermaphrodite." What is a hermaphrodite?
wow, that guy, that kid is pretty knowledgeable. I'm just saying.
Yeah, a second grader, like
I
knowing
know.
this word.
Yeah.
So I went home and I told my mom, and that was when my mom, like, I was like 5 when my mom first like told me, "Oh, you do have a father. It's just I'm kind of your father. I fill the role." So my mom,
Man, I'm just impressed by the second grader. Because there are actually adults who are a lot dumber than the second grader.
well, he
you
grew
know,
up to be Mark Zuckerberg. I know he's a smart guy. No, that's not true.
Jesus. You don't know how gullible I am. You know, just like.
Apparently, I saw your eyes light up like, you went to school with Mark Zuckerberg?
See, here, like that, even in America, there's still this conspiracy theory that saying that the Joe Biden you see on TV is actually a clone of Joe Biden. You know
Really?
how dumb is that? You know, if he's actually a clone, you know, you have to grow a clone from a single cell. You know, the clone actually has to be at least 50 years younger than
Are you
Joe
saying
Biden.
that I'm a clone of Joe Biden?
Yeah. You're more likely to be a clone of Joe Biden than the guy they see on TV. You know, because most people don't even have this knowledge. You know, but this kid knows what is a
Hermaphrodite.
You know, it's
Yeah. Do you know what a hermaphidite is?
oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Never mind.
Yeah. I don't want to demonstrate it.
Yeah, so my mom, she would tell me, you know, bits and pieces as I got older, and then I found out relatively recently that there were reasons why she didn't share a lot of information with me, and so I kind of have a different sort of respect for my mom, I guess you could say, now than before, and I guess I'm pretty comfortable with how I turned out. Is what I would say. I feel like I'm not a good person, but I hope to strive to be and I like.
Well, you didn't give out that vibe though. That's the most important thing.
The clone vibe.
No, the vibe of not being a good person.
Oh, some people would probably disagree with that, but
yeah, you're doing fine. That's the bottom line. But yeah, it's just I have known quite a few comedians who later on found out that they were fathers. You know, one comedian found out he has an 18-year-old son. And another one just found out, you know, he had a baby or something. But
don't worry, I'm not that lucky.
But usually they tend to like claiming their son, you know, just to at least have a friend or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little bit odd, but it's kind of tough, right?
Yeah.
It's tough on me.
I was really lucky because growing up, I had a lot of best friends whose parents would really take me under their wing. Like parents take me on vacation with their families and stuff. And
Wow.
I feel like I was very lucky to have a lot of big families.
Yeah, now I feel bad for your mom.
They always left her at home.
Yeah, I know. That's
We would have church trips, and the church would be like, "Oh, we'll bring Donnie. We'll pay for his ticket." And my mom would also just be at the bus stop by herself, like, "Bye, Donnie." They never had enough money for her.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, well, that's. Well, at least you went on the trips. Sorry, bringing the mood down, but it's kind of hard. Yeah, because I'm a parent.
Really?
Yeah, even though sometimes I could go on certain trips, but then he's my son's teenager now. He will play with his friends. Even that was like, oh no, he's gonna leave me pretty soon, or start to think I'm lame. That's a teenage thing. So.
What's it? Can I ask how he feels about having a father on TV?
I think he's very used to it because he saw me on TV since he was 2.
Okay.
Yeah, and then my wife told my son that, oh, your dad used to be a scientist. My son was really mad. She was like, "Mommy, you're lying to me." He wouldn't believe it because in his mind, I'm always a comedian on TV.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of strange, and it's not that I talk about it at all. Especially after moving to China. He didn't know I had a show until his friends told him I have a show, and then it's good and bad.
And what was he like? 是真的吗? They're like, 对.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a break.
Okay, sure.
So I actually ran a comedy show when I was in Boston. It was a miserable experience. I remember this comedian by the name Eric Charles Nielsen. He played a role in Community, the sitcom. Yeah. I remember when I was running the show, it was a Sunday afternoon show. I said, "Hey, I'm running the show. Could you come?" He said, "Hey, Joe, I love you, but I don't want to go to a show where there's no chance of succeeding." I was like, "Okay."
That's really rough.
Yeah. But then I don't blame him because it's a really tough show. To the extent that this is like 1:00 show. And there's one
afternoon or morning?
Afternoon, Sunday afternoon show.
Wow.
There's one audience member, and he was drunk. He was playing Keto. That is Keto, right? The little game you play at bars. He was basically drinking and playing the game, and there's a new comic on stage. So, and this drunk guy started to guess the comic's punchline. And he got them right like 90% of the time. Oh my God, it was awful, It's really a tough room, but I still ran it for 6 months. Okay, so what was your worst experience running a club? Mine is kind of like the drunk people or people don't want even to sign up. What's your experience?
Generally, the problems haven't come from the audience. Chinese audience are a great audience, and the comedians are all really happy to have stage time. I feel like the hardest thing is probably trying to work with different venues who all have different expectations, have different reasons for why they want a show. And it gets messy when there's unrealistic expectations from either side, and I've been really lucky that I keep my eyes and ears open for any venue that says, "Hey Donnie, we would love to have a comedy show." I'm like, "Yes, I'll go check it out," and if it looks good, I'll say, "Yeah, let's try it." But I'm very fast to just say, "This isn't working, let's move on." So I haven't had any disasters. We haven't had any disastrous things happen, but I would say that's where I feel the most stress.
I see. So finding a place for a comedy show versus finding a girlfriend, which one's tougher?
Finding a girlfriend.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
for sure.
Even with your looks?
It's because of my looks that it is so difficult for me.
It's always tough because remember the little Kwame open mic I used to run? The owner just said to me, "Hey, Joe, you know what's going to help your show? Get someone famous." Do you know Dane Cook? I was like, it was like a little tiny bar with one patron.
Yeah.
Like, you need someone famous.
That's what, because we've worked together, and to be honest, it was your first Joe and Heidi, and we called it Joe Wong in Center of the Universe. And that being able to put on a show with you was what got other people to talk to me. And since then, every time I've ever gone to a venue, they say, "Can you get Joe Wong to come here?" And I'm like, maybe, hopefully it's, it'll be luck if we do. But we're very lucky that we have this small scene in Beijing where somebody like you is able to be around and help and support us and everything.
Thanks. Yeah, that's.
I get to say Joe Wong opened for me.
Yeah.
This is the first line on my resume
Yeah.
for kindergartens.
Kindergarten.
It's like, what makes you qualified to be an English teacher for 5-year-olds? Well, Joe Wong opened for me.
Oh, by the way, you also wrote a play in Beijing, right?
Yes.
You wrote and produced a play
So
in Chinese, right?
Yes. So I was not the producer on that.
I just want to say one thing, though, because I remember I said this on stage in Beijing. So what is the Beijing English stand-up comedy scene? It's basically for a bunch of people who came to China and don't want to speak Chinese. That's the English scene. But then
Shots fired.
for some reason you got a Chinese language play, right? That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was really exciting. So I was the director and the writer of it. It was a reimagining of the ending to the tragedy Medea. Also in Chinese it's Medea. And we were we had a great small cast, and it was really exciting to be able to do a Chinese theater play because my major was screenwriting, and I like I said earlier, I never thought I'd be doing comedy because everything I do is tragedy. And what was really funny about doing the play was...
Is there a genre called tragedy?
I mean...
It's called a drama, right? They wouldn't say it's a tragedy.
No, I call it a tragedy because every script I wrote, people tore up and threw in the garbage.
That's tragedy for you.
It was a tragedy. They're all tragedies.
Yeah, but if you think about it, like Breaking Bad is a tragedy, right? But they don't call it a tragedy, just drama.
So you could call everything I did dramas. And... what was funny, though, was when I did the play, I had been doing stand-up comedy for about a year at that point. And before I did stand-up, everybody knew I was just the sad, depressing person who would just talk about all this sad stuff outside. And when I told people I was doing this play called Medea, they're like, "You can write dark stuff, but you're so funny." It's like, oh, now I'm known as the funny person. My heart is in the tragic stories and tragic character development and stuff like that. So
do you buy into the saying that comedy is tragedy plus time?
So when I did my own headliner, the tagline was like, "His tragedy is your comedy." And
I like that better because I don't quite buy into that equation. Comedy is tragedy plus time. Sometimes you don't need time.
Yeah, I expect if I died today, you'd have jokes about it tonight.
Or something. If you see a person slip on a piece of banana and fall. It's both comedy and tragedy at the same time, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
Which angle you're looking at it, So.
I guess for me personally, whenever something bad happens at this point, and this has been a weird development, every bad thing that happens to me, the moment I get rejected for a date for something, the first thing I do is take out my pen or my phone and write down what just happened that made me really sad, and then I start laughing because I'm like, this is going in my jokes tonight at open mic. If
take the writing out of the story you just told me, you're just a lunatic, right?
For sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Someone breaks up with me, I was like,
actually, it's probably the right way to describe it because I do feel insane that once, when I get into something, I really get into it. And so being in comedy, this has been my world. And it's really annoying to people because I'll just be at the table and I just start quipping jokes and people are like, Donnie, we're off stage. And I'm like, no, this is who I am, and you just didn't know me before I did comedy. This has been me my whole life. I'm just an insane person, and
I think there's another person that kind of reminded me of you, Mac. Remember Mac? And he's the same way. He always feels that, I'm a comedian. I was born this way. He's just
Lady Gaga.
He's always like that. And I could remember when I was doing comedy in America, we had the same thing. Let's say we're just having a conversation here, and then all of a sudden he would just take out a voice recorder.
Oh no, I don't do that.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, but this whose idea is recording? But it's kind of weird. But I'm not sure you're not doing it. But it's just sometimes. But I appreciate his dedication, though. I think everybody should be like that. Just whenever you have an idea, record it.
I'm going to give you an example if you don't
you're
mind.
Recording it right now.
No. I was in the middle of a conversation with a friend earlier, and I just. I was in the middle of a conversation with a friend, and she said, "Tell me about how things are going. I'd like to know." And I responded, "Don't share food. Girls steal my food. I just want to eat my food." And that was because in the middle of our conversation, I thought of a joke I want to tell, and I just said that. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I just don't want to lose the thought." So it's just, I do that sometimes with friends, and so that joke you guys might be able to hear in the future, figure out where that's going. Don't share food with girls.
Don't share food with girls. Okay. Oh, well, no wonder it's hard for you to get a date. No food. Oh, wow. Yeah, and also there's certain, we talk about Emo Phillips.
Yeah.
I also heard that back in the 80s, there's no cell phone to record. No, there's not even most people don't even have computers. So
you only heard that? You didn't know?
Yeah.
You weren't around in the 80s?
Yeah, no. Look at this. No. They actually just write all their jokes and put it in a box.
Yeah.
So when they go to Vegas to perform, they carry the big box with them through the casino.
Carrot Top.
Carrot Top does that?
I mean, well, he just always has a big
box. I know. But he has a lot of pop.
Yeah.
Man, that's
my partner. I don't know if you've met her. She is from Chengdu. Her name is Nico Too Much, and
Nico Too Much.
Yeah, that's her stage name.
Wow.
It's her born name. She was born in China with the name.
Oh yeah,
Nico
that's a very popular Chinese name. Too Much.
Yeah,
Mr. Too Much.
She is very.
It actually makes sense. That kind of name being Chinese.
Yeah.
Because there's a belief in the older generation that if you give your children a cheap name, he or she is very easier to raise.
So.
So I have friends whose name is leftover of a dog. 狗剩. I'm not even kidding. Just a lot of people have that name just because people feel that, that way it's easier to bring the sun up,
I said, but when you lower the expectations.
Oh, yeah, exactly, You can't just eat leftover from a dog and survive. That's the philosophy behind it,
Well, I hope Nico doesn't mind me bringing up her name, but the thing that she has, she is very traditional, and it's very cool to see her, because when we do a show together, she pulls out a backpack with 5 different journals, opens up each journal. Every journal is filled, and she goes, I need to figure out which jokes I'm going to do tonight. And it's she's got 8,000 jokes. It's she will say it's 7 years of comedy writing, and she carries it with her all the time. Nico, I love you. You're amazing.
Really? Have I met her?
I don't think so.
Oh.
I don't think so.
Wow. There are more comedians than I thought in China. I thought I met pretty much every English stand-up comedian here.
You did my show with me at the record store, and she performed on it. Actually, I think you guys might have shook hands. but I don't remember. I don't remember.
okay.
But you guys were both on
Well,
a
so
show together, yeah.
But why 7 or 8 different journals? She categorized her jokes or something? Or?
No, I mean, it's just like from, I think, I'm sorry if I get this wrong, but I think it's just like chronological. It's like this is my joke book from 2017. This is my joke book from 2018. Like,
but why does she bring the old joke books?
She doesn't. Maybe she doesn't remember them. I don't know.
Okay.
No, she's so smart. She's good. I think.
But for me, I just kind of have to do the jokes. And if the jokes work, I will move it to another
notebook.
Pool. Yeah, and then it just keeps moving. But those left behind.
Well, we're all lunatics, so we all have our own, whatever works for us, right?
So, do you have any like pre-show rituals? Some people will jump around. Others will just puke. Whatever.
It's funny that you say that because I was in Shaman recently, and I was like jumping around and kind of going crazy. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I've recently tried to stop drinking before I perform, and it's an interesting thing to change because the confidence goes away, but then there's a new clarity. There's a give and a take to it. But I think I like to eat before shows, and I found out a lot of comedians don't like to eat before, and they say they feel bloated and not good. But if I don't eat, I get maybe a little anxiety, a little nervous. I need to weigh myself down.
Yeah. I just feel like low blood sugar and jittery. Just not good.
I do. I listen to comedy usually before a big show. I'll listen to my favorite comedians and just. Not to
really?
So I can steal their jokes if I'm bombing.
But I don't know how you do it because for the longest time I cannot listen to Mitch Hedberg or Woody Allen, these people because I'm afraid if I listen to them, the jokes I write's going to be sounding like their jokes. Because I'm easily influenced by other people, I guess.
I feel I am too. I'm very lucky that most of my jokes are like personal story stuff, so it's not like... at least if it's similar, I know it's like some very true... Not that you or somebody else isn't, but I just I listen for, I guess, like the inspiration of, or like the motivation of like, oh, this sounds so great. That's how I want to sound tonight. Like not in terms of the cadence or mimicking them, but just the atmosphere, that feeling, to try to get into that atmosphere before I get on stage.
Yeah.
I always put on pink shoes before a show. That's one of my rituals. I have a set of pink shoes. I'm not wearing them today because we're half up.
Oh, okay.
But they're very expensive, and they're my show only shoes.
Show.
Yeah, those are my favorite things in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting, because I used to have some kind of shirt that I love wearing, but later on I started to realize those things doesn't matter. But in the beginning, I was just like, I gotta wear that.
Did you play sports ever growing up? I shouldn't ask the question.
Wait. It's an important question because...
Don't say chess.
My answer is yes, but other people don't think so.
What's the answer? Ping pong?
No. It's skipping a rock on the river. That's my best sport.
What was your most highest number of
highest
skips?
number is probably 2 or 3. but it's 7 or 8 in the winter, okay?
That's funny.
But it's actually badminton, But I know in America a lot of people don't consider badminton a sport, But
yeah, you can make anything a sport. Like I like running around. So when I play badminton, my Chinese friends think I'm crazy because I run like a madman, and they just want to stand there and just. I'm like, I already have a practice for that. But
you're just like the little cat in a Chinese restaurant.
But I think playing sports growing up, rituals are a big part of it. So comedy is almost like a sport. It's a lot of that's kind of ingrained in.
So what sport did you play?
Baseball. Baseball was my best one, but
do you guys do like a fist pumps? No, chest pumps and stuff. You know.
Nobody did them with me because none of my teammates ever liked me. But people did that.
Oh yeah. Man, geez, sports. Yeah, but then you kind of carry that habit into comedy, basically.
Yeah. My personality, like Michael Jordan was my hero as a little kid, as for many like little children.
Michael Jordan, the basketball player,
the
baseball player?
The basketball. Well, both, honestly.
Yeah, both. Oh.
Honestly, I loved both because I love testing your limits and like seeing, you know, what you can do. And I would watch his, and growing up, this is all part of it, like growing up without a father, being a relatively undersized human being, everything I've done.
You're undersized. Jesus Christ. What does that make me?
What you mean? Yeah. I always had this mentality because everywhere I went, everything I did, people were like, "You're not going to be good enough to do this. You're not going to be good enough to do that." And comedy is my favorite thing about doing comedy. Is there's the immediate satisfaction of the audience, and I get to go on stage, and every time I go on stage and I kind of kill a show, I'm like, you know, I did it, Dad. Like there's this angst that's still within me that does drive me. It can drive people away, but I think a lot of what just drives me in general to succeed at stuff is, you know, very deeply rooted in growing up and just being told of whatever it was that I want to do. Like I grew up in a family of blue collar people, so when I said I want to be a writer, you know, the immediate answer is like absolutely not. You're not going to have anything. There's no future in writing. And as I got some success,
they're right, man.
They are because you know, even when you have some success.
But I have to say that, you know, Hollywood writers had it really good for a very long time.
Yeah. Hollywood wouldn't touch me. That was never on the table.
But that's the thing, you know, you can still be there. You're still young. You know?
I couldn't be bartender.
No, seriously. Because I have friends who didn't become a like WGA member until he was in his 50s. Yeah, there's always a chance. The people always need new blood in their shows and all that.
Well, the reason I started doing comedy was actually because like that was the one part of my writing that I thought was really weak and really lacked. And I thought, you know, I can do dialogue, I can do drama, I can you know, really write a lot of themes and stuff. But I struggled with comedic timing in my scripts and stuff, and that's how I got started in this. And then this just took over.
Yeah, we're kind of the opposite.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was depressed when I was working in a biotech company. So they told me one way to get over it was to just write a journal. You'll feel better. So I did that for, you know, maybe half a year. Then I stopped for almost a year. And a year later, I took out my old journal. I read it. I'm like, oh, God, this is awful. You know, you're supposed to feel better, but now the same thing made me feel bad twice. You know? But then the only time I feel slightly, you know, okay is when I wrote down some like humor or some funny observations. I'm like, life is hard enough. Why don't we just focus on the fun part? You know, that's when I started to only write the interesting part. So.
It's interesting. I feel like for my style of comedy, which is like, I think more than being influenced by comedians, I'm really influenced by songs that have really depressing lyrics. But they're really high energy and like really fun to jump around with, and that's what my comedy is.
But I couldn't stand those songs, like the Pearl Jam song about his girlfriend died in a car accident or something.
That was mine and my mom's favorite song to cry to together when I was a little kid.
Really? Yeah, because every time I hear that song, I have to switch radio stations. Otherwise, I just want to cry. I just feel so depressed.
My mom would always cry to that song.
Oh, really? Yeah, I feel the same way until I had a coworker. She just said to me, well, but if you listen closely enough, the beat is kind of happy beat. I was like, okay.
I describe my comedy as Pumped Up Kicks, which is the song about the school shooting. That's like, oh, the other kids.
Oh my God! Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, there are really some messed up, depressing songs. Also, the song "Dust in the Wind."
Yep, yep.
Oh my God, that song I just can't stand it. That's so sad. But yeah, I guess you just have to focus on the the tune, the rhythm,
Yeah. And I think the audience, like everybody likes to have like a little bit of a catharsism in their comedy. And so.
Yeah. But it's, have you really told any really sad story in your comedy?
And what's interesting with comedy, and I'm sure every comedian gets this, is the question after the show, which is, is that true? Is that story true? Is that joke true? And for me, it's like 95% of the jokes are probably true or based in something very, very honest.
Yeah.
And then you just change a little bit of it to be comedy. So I have stuff about like growing up as with a single mom. I have stuff about growing up being bullied. There was a time I actually lived in a psychiatric hospital, and so I have jokes that are about that, and people laugh every single time. And it's funny because when I bring it up that people are laughing at these things, then it gets uncomfortable. And so I used to think it would be funny to be like, you guys are laughing that I wanted to remove myself from this earth, and then people are like, oh, we are. And then they stop laughing.
Oh yeah, you can't.
So
you can't
like,
remind them what they're doing.
I'm like, so now I'm just like, yes.
We're just happy laughing at this guy's misery. You're making us sad.
It's a really interesting line to get to where people don't find it depressing and do find it funny, because there are people who do comedy and people go, that just sounds sad. It's not funny.
Yeah, but sometimes I feel that if you can't laugh at miserable stuff, there's nothing to be laughed at anymore.
Right.
Yeah, but then, it's...
you gotta find your diary.
And make that funny. Yeah. And also something else I noticed, like when I was talking about, hitting middle age, that kind of thing, hate having birthday parties. The people here love it. They're like, oh yeah, that's what life is supposed to be. But in America, people are just very serious. They're, oh no, this is sad. People feel bad about different things.
I'm very afraid of going on the tour through the West, because I know it's going to be very different. And that the comedy, like what is considered funny, what's not, is all very different. Even we have Americans here at their shows, and they're just a different crowd, because it's a different kind of person who would move here to live here.
Exactly. Yeah, that's interesting. People who have the courage to leave their home behind and go to a completely unknown place.
You don't need courage if you don't have a home.
Yeah, that's true. But America is supposed to be a country of immigrants. But one thing I found a little bit shocking was there's a statistic saying that Americans used to move every 7 years. They just pack up and leave. The whole family leaves. Yeah. But now the length is 20 years.
Really?
Yeah, people are less and less willing to move around.
So for me, it's China is like my real home. Beijing is like my real home. Like because from probably the time I was 4 years until I was 4 years old, I was in a different apartment every year, and then from age 10 until I was 17, I was in a different school, a different city every year from 11 to 17. So every single time I would move, it'd just be like restarting my life over and over again.
You didn't bring a friend with you?
No, I tried. I tried.
Friends are they? Jesus Christ!
I tried quite a bit.
Oh man, I'm sorry. Jeez.
And so when and then as an adult, I was I was in and out of university with different things going on in my life, and I was never in the same apartment. I moved out of my home pretty early, and when I came to China, it was like the first time I had actual stability, being in one city for an extended period of time and one home for an extended period of time. I just moved from where I was living in the apartment I was living in. I lived there for 4 years. That's the longest I've lived in one home since I was probably in elementary school. So for me, it feels natural to pack up and just move. And I actually have anxiety when I'm in one place for too long. So one of the things I love about comedy is I get to just kind of constantly be out and exploring and kind of feel that desire to be out and moving and changing things.
Yeah, well, it's great when you're single, to be honest.
Yeah, this is why I'm single. Yeah, for sure.
This is what, when I was touring, my son was about 2-3 years old. It was very tough, when I pulled my car out, his face was just on the window. I was like, oh God, and then when I go home, sometimes it's 1 o'clock in the morning and he already went to bed, but he will leave me a note on the kitchen floor, I was like, oh God, just.
And you read them. I used to leave notes for my dad, but he never read them.
Oh, that's even sadder. Jesus Christ! You see, the sadder it is, the funnier they are.
Did you ever do that thing that they do, like on those videos, like those military men? You surprise your son at home, like you just show up one day and you're just like, "Daddy's here."
No, I've never done it because I always told my wife, and my wife would immediately tell my son, hey, Daddy's coming or something. Yeah, so it was never a surprise. Yeah.
You should surprise him now. You just show up when he's on a date. He's got a girl. He's driving a girl in his car, and just show up in the back seat. Hey guys,
I heard what you said.
Don't use me to get women.
Yeah, but but it's just interesting because my son, I don't know if it's because of me. He doesn't like comedy at all.
Really?
Yeah, because when he was little, he loved my show in China, and then when he turns 13, he was like, "Hey, Daddy, finally got your jokes in America." And then after a while, he doesn't talk about comedy at all. I think because he wants to, I guess, forge his own path or his own career and stuff. I kind of appreciate it, but
it's good. Nobody will accuse you of nepotism. Right?
Oh yeah. He's no nepo kid. I don't know who. Have you ever met any good comedian who is from a rich family? See, that's the thing. I couldn't think
hope
of
none
any.
of my friends are rich, and I don't know it. I'm going to be like, I'm not. I never ask my comedian friends how much money they have, though. So
you got to check.
Give me your bank account right now.
Exactly.
There's more than 1,000 Kwai in it. You can't perform.
You have no future in this business. But the thing is, I can't think of anybody. Famous ones or the ones that are really good. I've never seen any.
What I think you need that drive to improve, right? And you need that motivation of like, I didn't do well today. I need to do better tomorrow because if I don't, I'm not going to be able to eat dinner, right?
Yeah.
Like this kind of mentality.
But also maybe things that people can relate to. You can't just complain, on my 16th birthday, my daddy bought me this Mercedes with the wrong color. People are like, screw you. Why should we be on your side, right? I guess that's part of it.
There's got to be a niche market, right?
Like, yeah.
Like people who
tell
just
rich jokes,
people, just tell rich people jokes. I mean, that's probably what Donald Trump did at his, dinners. Just people, like, I woke up this morning and thought I was $1 billion short. I'm like, oh no, I only have $34 billion left.
I know, but
great comedy.
But Donald Trump eats a lot of burgers too.
Yeah, that's true.
Fast food.
That's true. You guys have a lot in common.
Oh yeah, one thing in common. Man. Yeah. Donald Trump. Okay.
I mean, he's done comedy, hasn't he? I think so.
Well, he's always been a comedian.
Yeah,
he's more of a comedian than a president.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think I know any rich comedians. I think there are quite a lot of middle class comedians. I think. Yeah. But
Oh, you know what? Speaking of which, that's one thing I heard about a lot of rich people complain. They feel that all the entertainment is geared toward middle class or lower middle class people. It's very hard for them to appreciate it. You know, I think I kind of get it. You know, yeah.
once you change classes, you're like there's nothing for me anymore.
I don't laugh at it more. Yeah.
Just kidding. You're here at a table with me. I know how well you're doing.
I know. Yeah. So I have to beg you to come on my podcast. Just kidding. Yeah. And you're starting a podcast too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we're recording a couple. Am I allowed to say the name of my comedy club?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
So the comedy club is called the Comedy Citadel, Chongbao Shiju, and we are starting We've recorded a few podcasts, and we want to record quite a few together before we start releasing them. So probably in May we'll start to have episodes kind of weekly release, and it's pretty exciting. We want to do a little bit of what's already been done. So like having different themed podcast episodes to kind of start, just to have things be a little bit more interesting as we get into the vibe, because I'm not really an interviewer. I ramble, I talk a lot, I talk over people, and it's all on display here.
Okay, that explains a lot. But
no. So we're trying to figure it out, feel our way out through it.
Yeah, but podcasts for some reason has never been as big as it is in the United States, right? I mean, up to this point. But who knew? You know, things in China happen really, really fast. You know, I still have two more questions. One is, what is the toughest gig you've ever done?
Oh, so honestly, it was a show with you.
Okay, end of the story.
No, it was a really great teaching moment for me. I had just been getting. I was getting pretty confident in my act, and I was really excited because this was going to be like the biggest show that I've done. And one of the openers, and an amazing comedian named Zongnan, playing guitar. He opens in front of me.
Oh yeah, I remember that. This was in Beijing, right?
Yes. This was at. This was with. Can I say this was with Tony Cho?
Oh yeah.
It was really. It was a great opportunity for me. Like, very thankful that he brought me in to open for you. And I go up after this amazing crowd. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna kill it. And I start with this joke where I say, my father's Chinese and my mother's American. The way the joke is supposed to go is, I'm mixed, and people always ask me, like, who's Chinese, your mother or your father? So I perform it as, I'm mixed, my father's Chinese, my mother's American. Can you guys guess who's Chinese? And this girl goes, you just told us. And I'm like, I ruined my joke. And for the next 8 minutes or so that I was performing, I couldn't get out of my head that that first joke, I just ruined it. It was really embarrassing. I was awkward. Suddenly I start just sweating everywhere, and I'm forgetting my punchlines. And now what I would have done would be really easy. It's just quit back and be like, you passed your English exam.
Yeah, exactly. There's no mistake on stage. You just have to roll with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was I think the first time I blundered a punchline. It was the opening one, and I could just feel the audience after that was out. They were out on me, and I was really embarrassed. But it was also one of the first shows that I did bomb, and I guess now a show will never be that bad, because once you've bombed, once you know what it feels like to be on stage and have 0 people laugh. It doesn't get worse than that, right? There's no tomato throwing anymore. Nobody's got a cane that they're pulling and yanking you off stage with. So that was the worst one, and I think that will always be the worst one, because that was the first time I felt it.
Okay. And I'm glad.
You did great. You did great that show. You were awesome.
Yeah, but that's kind of interesting though, because I think the toughest gig for me was. 2 things came to mind. One was I was at this show in Boston, and the headliner was stuck in traffic. I was the middler, and they were like, "Hey, Joe, you got to stretch, okay? How long?" They're like, "Just keep going." The other time, I have 10 minutes at most. So I just have to stand on stage and just keep talking while looking at my watch. Like,
You sound like people at our open mics.
well, yeah, I know. But and then the club owner was like, just told me to stretch. And that's the first time I did like 27 minutes. But from that point on, I'm just more confident about doing a longer time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another horrible
Why,
show.
can I ask, why didn't the host do the time?
The host is there. No, the host doesn't do any jokes. No, he's
Oh,
not
really?
a comedian.
Oh,
He's
okay.
the booker's wife, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
nepotism.
no, she's just there to get tickets,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah, but then another time was I did this show at a casino, and so I was invited by some people, like two Asian dudes, put this show together, and I was on stage, and the crowd, for some reason, they don't even speak English. But on the contract, I have to tell English jokes. So the opener was also another Asian dude. He was supposed to do 15 minutes, but the guy did 1 minute and a half. He just split. So then I went on.
That's so funny.
I know. I went on stage and I did my 45 minutes according to the contract.
Yeah.
And afterwards, one audience member just came up to me and said, "Hey, can you speak Cantonese?" I was, where were you like 45 minutes ago? Nobody said a thing. It was awful.
So can you speak Cantonese?
No, I can't.
Oh.
But at least
You could have asked me 45 minutes ago.
but
Yeah.
then at least I'm prepared. Oh my God! But those are the tough gigs. And also another question is you're writing jokes and also you're writing plays. Which one is, what is the biggest difference between these two crafts?
I have to get into a different place, in my mind and in my vibes. I think when I'm writing, so I'm working on a couple projects right now for scripts. One's a film and two are theatrical plays. And there are different genres, everything's different. And I do have to kind of jump in and out of different characters. I think with comedy, my process
So
is...
when you're writing a play, you have to jump in and out of different characters with different voices.
Yes, jump in, different characters, different voices. I write my plays and stuff in very dark places, so I'll usually go out somewhere, some random place that's very low lighting, have a couple cocktails or have some whiskey, and I'll go into a darker place to write. And comedy for me now is a lot of it is kind of experimenting on stage. So something I think funny happened.
Yeah.
And the way I write those is I will start to tell the joke without knowing where it's supposed to go.
Oh, okay.
And I just try to read how the audience vibes, how the audience reacts. The goal I think for a lot of comedians is like connecting with the audience, right? So I try to tell the joke as if I'm telling it to my friends, but how can I make the most friends at the table laugh? And I try to, that's how I use the open mic. So I don't actually sit down and write out the jokes. I write down like an idea for it.
Okay.
And I saw a podcast with Louis C.K. where he discussed doing something similar, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense for,
I guess just there are like different styles.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I tend to write out every word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I tried to do, and
Yeah.
it didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work for a very long time for me too.
Yeah.
But then just gradually, I kind of have formed the habit of writing out every word. But then later on, I kind of switched back to just to write down the keywords and the main ideas. But now I have this problem of, I had a great show, and then afterwards, like, oh, geez, exactly what did I say there? I can't remember.
Yes.
That's a problem, So I think still it's good practice to, write every word, at least for me. So
When I finish a show, I think a lot of my writing comes after the show.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, my favorite thing to do when I finish a show is like go grab a drink and then talk about, let's talk about the show and everything that happened. And, some comedians are just like, there's a pretty girl or a handsome guy over there. I'm going to go talk to them. And I'm just like, no, I need to figure out, like, wasn't this joke I told really good? And people are like, shut up, Donnie. And I'm like, but I need to remember those things, because it is similar. It's like, I came up with a tag or a new punchline on stage. I tell people, and this is true, all of my best punchlines that I've had in the last 2 years were not the punchlines I wrote down on paper. It's like I'm on stage and I'm in the middle of telling this joke, and sometimes on video you can actually see. It's like seeing the light bulb like above my head, like, because I remember the first time I got the audience to clap and I had people like hollering. There was a pause before my punchline, and I didn't have a punchline written or prepared at all. So I have this set up and I'm like, and I do this dumb smile.
Oh, okay.
And then I tell this punchline, and the audience just erupted, and it was clapping and stuff. And those are the punchlines I end up carrying over. My best punchlines were not written down in a notebook.
Oh, that's interesting, because as a playwright, you have to get every word down. Right?
Yes.
But
That is a
your
big
training.
difference.
Yeah, that's interesting. But when you're doing stand-up comedy, you didn't carry over the habit.
Yeah.
Huh.
Doing stand-up has been so strange, because it's very different side of me that like I didn't know existed. It's cool. It's cool. When you have multiple personalities, it's always nice to meet a new one.
Yeah, but I haven't seen anybody do this on stage yet. Multiple personality. It could be a first, like 4 mics, I mean, like Neil Brennan did this thing where part of his special is one-liner, part of his storytelling. He does this thing.
Dimitri Martin does that too. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I've only seen him do one-liners and stuff.
He'll do one, like Dimitri Martin, if I remember correctly. I think I do. He'll do like the one-liners, and then he'll do the sketch pad jokes, and then he'll do musical stuff. It's all kind of one-liner-ish, but it's different. It's different ways to tell them, right?
Yeah. Do you envision yourself doing comedy in New York again? I mean, not again, to do comedy in New York, where you grew up and so forth.
So this summer, what I think this niche market that we're exploring here in Beijing and what Shanghai is doing and a lot of the other cities like Chengdu and Shenzhen and stuff. One of the really cool things that I'm doing is I'm not lying to myself.
Yeah, I always feel that New York is a really great, probably the best comedy town in America. I just feel the comedians in Los Angeles, they live in the shadows of movie stars. But in New York, comedians are the stars. I remember one time I was taking this train from Manhattan to Brooklyn, and this 80-year-old lady in the train she was just discussing with her friend about alternative comedy from Eugene Merman.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is really hip, people.
She must have been Jewish.
Maybe, but it's just really amazing that they're so into stand-up comedy. They actually know the subtle differences between the different styles. So yeah, but are you gonna go back to New York and do some stand-up there, or? So
this summer we have a tour, and it's really exciting. I'm gonna be going to Indonesia, hopefully Singapore. So we're currently booked in like Indonesia, in Thailand, in a couple of different Southeast Asian countries. We're booked in Canada, in Vancouver, and Toronto's getting done now. We're going to be in America. We'll be going to San Jose, San Francisco, New York City.
Wow, where did you find these rooms? The bookers and stuff.
So because the Chinese comedy scene in America is blowing up, so what's really cool is I don't lie to myself. I don't look at myself and say I can do my comedy in any like Midwestern bar in America and make people laugh. Like I know who my audience is. I have grown with this English-speaking Chinese audience where I kind of mix this West and East culture together. And so when we started looking to tour, the world or different countries, I wanted to look at where there are a lot of Chinese people who will still be able to understand, where we're coming from, and maybe even on a deeper level, because they're in it right then. So if everything's about trying to connect with the audience, I feel like who better to connect to than we're expats here, they're expats there. How do I still reach that comedy base? So like, as long as you use your gigantic platform and tell them, like, go see Donnie Fan when he's in the West, and we might actually get more than 10 people to show up.
Right. And if you mention my social media account to the 10 people, I will double my social media following. We help each other.
It's going to be a mutually, we're parasites.
Well, this is like, I don't know who is the host here anymore. That kind of reminds me of Mitch Hedberg's joke about, belts. I have a belt and the belt loop.
Oh, yes.
Who's helping who? Who's the real hero here?
That's a great line.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
My favorite Mitch Hedberg line, real quick, are saved by the buoyancy of citrus.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one too.
Actually, that's my favorite one. That is, that's. Mitch is one of the great ones where you just say like the final punchline and almost everybody knows it.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a comic.
Yeah.
Comedians love him.
Anyway, you're helping me way more than I help you, so thank you.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, much appreciated.
Well, thank you so much. I think that's about this episode. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or?
Yeah, you can bring me on next episode, and I can keep talking.
Yeah, sure.
I would have one question for you, I guess, which would be like, when you go to different places, how much background information do you do into that city? Do you try to make the new cities part of like your stand-up routine, or do you just trust the work you've done and just do what you do? Like I'm very curious about this because I've only ever seen you perform here in Beijing.
Oh, okay.
So,
it depends. In the beginning, I tried to incorporate some jokes about the Shanghai dialect or this stuff. But then later on, I realized that the locals do it much better than me. They can actually speak the dialect instead of me just making a joke about it. So toward the end, I kind of stopped doing it. I just go to a city. I just, most of my jokes are pretty, universal. Yeah, I try to keep it that way. Yeah. Even when I was starting in Boston, because I just know that if you do certain Boston local jokes, it was amazing. You kill it every time. But then I kind of made a conscious choice just to do jokes that could be understood by a larger audience.
That's super interesting because I feel like that is the mentality that I want to have. And the reason I have that is because I saw a couple of the comedians coming from abroad to perform in Beijing, right? And they're doing like all the first observations.
Yeah.
And they don't have any deeper context, deeper understanding. So
Exactly.
they can only do the most surface level of those jokes.
Yeah.
And it's like these are supposed to be the best comedians, coming in. Like these are people who perform at all these famous comedy clubs, and they're doing the same routine as the guy who was here last time. Like I think the audience wants to hear you do your jokes.
Exactly.
And so that was what was part of when I was thinking, like, what kind of jokes do I do? I want to get away from a lot of the surface observation stuff.
Sometimes the audience doesn't quite know what they want. They always say, hey, make fun of us, say your impression about the city, but then if you do that, they probably don't appreciate that much than as if you're doing your, really tried out material, so
thank you.
But that's just my take, who knows, maybe something funny there, like that. Unless there's a big event or something, I remember when I was doing a show in Wuhan.
The one I did with you?
Yeah. Remember, I just went on stage and said, hey, Donald Trump got COVID. Everybody just clap you there. But those are just really easy, quick jokes. But I don't really, delve into the Wuhan, dialect or local cuisine or something. It's just that's very hard.
Yeah. The jokes are funniest when you actually understand the context of what you're talking about, right? So,
yeah, exactly.
And then it doesn't, that's why a lot of people who feel like, oh, comedy can be hurtful or something, usually the people that their jokes sound hurtful are the people who are just doing it at the surface, right? It's just a very quick observation of a cultural thing, and they're like, that's so weird. It's like, oh, it would actually be funnier if you knew why it was weird, and you could talk about why it's weird, rather than just, attacking.
Exactly.
Attacking that. So, yeah. Thank you so much, Joe.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming to our show. And Donnie Fan doing English stand-up comedy in China.
Yeah. Where do I look?
Yeah.
That's yours.
Yeah, this one, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Joe,
well, good luck with your tour.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. If you want to quit your job and come with us, you're welcome to.
This could be the longest comedy tour. We should keep track of this. You start from China, Southeast Asia, Canada, US, and then back here. That's a very long tour.
We've got some. It's going to be like 3 months, and if I guess I can add in this one last thing. One of the things that made that I feel really made me successful at this and helped some of the other comedians here too, is I saw Beijing's so big, right? Why is it just like this one open mic or this one place? I really had this idea and this vision that to do Beijing mini tours where you do Chaoyang and then Shui and then Haidian in like all in a weekend, and we did like 4 or 5 of those, and all the comics Friday night we're all partying, we're happy. Saturday night you're even higher. Sunday, everybody performs as a zombie.
Oh.
And what I loved was learning how to deal with that, because I always thought, like, if I'm going to do this, I need to know what that's like. And now I'm performing like 3 or 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And there's no way I could have done it starting out, right? But I feel like I've always had this, idea in mind, which is, I don't know if I'm going to be able to actually get to do this around the world, but if I am, I want to start training myself to like have some of these skills so that it doesn't surprise me. And
I see.
So it's really exciting to do it, and I feel as prepared as I'm going to be. There's a lot of stuff I can't prepare for. Like it's going to be really hard not performing with you. Being away from you, I might get a little separation anxiety. But,
oh my God.
We have each other's WeChats. I can call you.
Yeah, but I think the partying stuff is the part that I kind of missed out. Because when I started, I already have a family, have a mortgage, have a day job, I usually just do my set and leave, That's why people in Boston call me the comedy ninja. Just come in, do my set, and disappear, But, that's the best I can manage.
So that's the public answer you give, right?
Yeah,
Tell me the real answer when the cameras are off. Kidding.
My life can't be that exciting.
High blood pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's when my manager used to warn me, because when we go out and pitch comedy shows, pitch, sitcom and stuff, people always say, hey, what's your life like? What's exciting about your life? I just tend to say, oh, my life's kind of boring. My manager's like, you can't say that. You're a comedian. You have to make it interesting, exciting, but...
Be like, I hang out with Donnie Fan.
Yeah, but then, I always feel that the guy, like, for example, if I'm getting interviewed by a journalist or something, I just feel the photographer looks more interesting than me. I'm just really, regular guy, just has no edge, my life is not that exciting or out of the ordinary. But then this camera guy, he's got, a mohawk, a ripped jean and stuff. It's like, well...
Just show your Xin tattoo and you'll be...
What tattoo?
The Xin.
tattoo.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My Chinese sucks.
My temporary tattoo.
Yeah. just show up for every interview with temporary tattoos.
Yeah, exactly.
Those fake nose rings.
Or
wash out hair dye.
Be getting an allergy from it. Just keep sneezing and stuff, Yeah. Cool. All right. Okay. That's our podcast.
Okay. Thank you, Joe Wang.
Well,
it was a true pleasure.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, really appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, we're done.